Washington that they're not terrible.
Yeah,
They're not good.
they're fine. They're
There's
okay.
some people that are kind of, oh, commander, like, well, no, but they're not doormats, right? Like, I mean, they've got some competency. I don't think the Raiders are very good. I know that one's coming up at some point, you
This whole
know.
schedule. This is why a
I
lot of
know
us
that's why we had
were
such a
yes, yes.
rosy outlook, man. There's a lot of just teams that aren't very good.
Yeah. Oh
Ugh.
well.
Well, anyway, you want to just jump into this thing?
I'm good. I already shared everything to our
Got
socials.
everything shared? Look at
I'm
you.
ready, man. I'm ready to do this show.
Well, like we say, you're in mid-season form.
Yeah,
There's no messing around with that. So,
yeah.
all right, we'll get into it here. No belaboring. Welcome to Bear and Balance. I'm Jeff Burkus, a writer for Windy City Gridiron, and I'm joined by the editor of that fine website, Lester A. Wiltfong Jr. Lester, the Bears extended their losing streak to 14 games in spectacular fashion with a close 31-28 loss. Other than the game, how are you doing this week?
Doing good. It's a nice, beautiful day here in the Midwest, and I can't complain. I mean, it's besides the Bears, life is good.
Yeah, we had kind of a warm streak here lately,
Yeah,
right? It's been kind
yeah.
of nice, but then when the sun's starting to go down, the wind kind of picks up and it's really nice, right? Yeah,
I love the fall.
weather's
The
kind of
fall's a good
nice.
time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. It's even like a warm fall, but like
Yeah,
it's still fall. You don't have quite the humidity. So, all right. Well, now that we've got the weather out of the way, because that's what Midwesterners do, and there's nothing fun to talk about, we'll get into the game. Um,
nice.
we start every show in the trenches because we need the big guys to get a little love. So, trench tribute this week for you. Who you picking out?
It's another tough one this week.
Tough
I
one.
kind of looked at the film and I'm like, do I really go defense? I mean, I thought Demarcus Walker was okay. Andrew Billings again had some nice moments. You know, there was finally a sack. For the first time since week one, so that was fun. 2 sacks the Bears are up to now. I look at offense. I'm like, okay, I don't know. So I, I'm going outside the box this
Uh
week.
oh.
So I'm going to ask you a question. According to Pro Football Focus, do you know who led the Bears in quarterback pressures
I'm gonna
this
guess
week?
Jaquan Brisker.
Saquon Brisker is my trends tribute this week. I thought for sure that the days of a guy like Brisker leading the Bears in sacks would not happen this year. But I got to go with Brisker. It's a nod to Coach Flus for sending him a little bit. He did a little creative stuff with the blitz, which was nice to see. But yeah, I'm going to go outside the box. Jaquan Brisker, safety, 4 quarterback pressures. My trench tribute this week.
Now, are you saying outside the box because you're thinking outside the box, or
Oh
because you're
man,
talking about the box in football, where the tackle box?
yeah, I'm going to go with that. I like that better.
You totally meant to do that.
I
I love it.
totally meant it was
I
a
love it.
play. It was my pun right there. I love it. Yeah.
Great job. Yeah, I think Demarcus Walker's biggest play or best play may have been drawing a hold. So I don't
Yeah.
know that you can give him trench tribute for that, but I mean that's nice, right? There's nothing wrong with that. We both like Billings quite a bit. I'm just going to go back, and I can't help myself but watch Darnell Wright, and I know he had a hold. I mean, yeah, it was okay. It was a hold, but like, kind of reposition or lay off or whatever.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want to get caught doing that far downfield. But overall, I know he got beat, but it's a rookie. I think he's going to be good. I can't help but watch him when I'm watching the game,
Yeah.
which means that he's got some skill, right? Like it's fun to watch him, and I'm going to continue to do that throughout the year because I think he's one of the lone bright spots right now, and so I'm just gonna stick with Wright. I'm gonna
That's a
stick with
good
Wright.
pick. He had a couple penalties. He admitted that the fourth down play, he said he made a mistake there. But the fact that he's able to be aware of what's going on, he knows what he has to work on. I think that speaks good for the rookie. And then he, like you said, when he's playing, your eyes are drawn to him because on the plays where he's good, you're like, yeah, that's the guy, that's the dude at right tackle that the Bears can have that O line built around, for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years, hopefully. So yeah, I like Wright. I mean, like I said, the O line, D line, there weren't the greatest performances this week, but I like Wright. That's a good pick.
I'm sure somebody can talk about Nate Davis coming in and being a little bit solidified. on that position. But if you go center and left, that was a very bad game from those three individuals. They did not look good at all. So trying to pick out something on that offensive line, particularly in a game where they did put up 28 points. So
Yeah.
you need to give them a little bit of love there. So all right, enough with the Trench Tribute. Let's get into Twitter. What are you highlighting this week from the Twitter machine?
Zach Pearson does a great job for the Bear Report. He tweeted out, he, of course, is on the beat. He's in the locker room. Man, that was a tough locker room to be in. Those players are feeling it. Field sat in his locker with his pads and jersey on, just looking at the ground. He's taking this loss tough. And it makes me wonder, we always talk about how, they're going to lose the locker room, the coaching staff, right? That takes a lot. I mean, it takes a lot to do it. I was on a show earlier today with our guy Sean Sierra. Same thing kind of came up, is like, we saw a bad locker room in the Trestman era. That was ridiculous. Players going to the media, coaches going to the media, coaches crying in front of players, just a weird situation all around. That was a lost locker room. I don't think this locker room is at that point yet, but there are a lot of people talking about it's going to happen. Of course, Coach Eberflus is on the hot seat as far as fans are concerned, as far as media is concerned. But these players, man, they're still battling. They want to get that W. It's been a long time for these guys. So it's just interesting to see how the beat writers are kind of now have kind of shifted a little bit. And even some of the guys that are usually negative, they're kind of like, man, they're starting to feel bad for what's going on with these players because they see the big picture here.
Yeah, it's kind of sad when Chicago media starts feeling bad for the players, right?
Yeah.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Is this a good time to talk about an individual who wasn't in the locker room or on the sideline on Sunday that otherwise you might expect?
Yeah, it might be a good place for it here.
So Chase Claypool was asked to stay at home, or maybe he was not asked and he chose to stay at home. But maybe actually it was that. What in the world was going on with the differences between the Bears PR and Coach Matt Eberflus of giving us the straight answer of why Chase Claypool wasn't present in the locker room, even though he wasn't going to dress, and on the sidelines, he chose to stay home, or then later on, it was clarified that he was actually told to stay home. And then he was told to stay home because that's a distraction to the team. And we don't want that. And he's not going to be at Hallis Hall this week. I mean, this guy's done, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're trying to work out obviously some kind of trade right now. And if the trade doesn't happen, they're just going to release him. I don't see any other pathway out of this for Chase Claypool.
Yeah, it was weird. Such a very weird, a weird situation. The whole thing with the press conference yesterday, and then of course today. Before that, the PR comes out and they have to clarify, which makes you wonder, why is not a PR guy there before Eberflus takes the podium? Hey man, they're going to ask you about Chase Claypool. Here's the company line. Stick with this, okay? Just make sure you say this. Something, and then that's it. They ask you again. Well, this is it. He's home for this. What he looked like a jackass up there doing what he's doing. And then today, of course, Chicago media, it comes out again. Because it came out that Coach Eberflus, they've asked him to stay home for the week. So of course the media didn't want to know. So he took like 7-8 minutes of like peppered question after question about Chase Claypool. They want details of this, and he really wouldn't give nothing up. And it just, like you said, the trade's happening. If they can't trade him, they're going to cut him. 32nd overall draft choice this last year went for him. Of course, Ryan Poles didn't know that was going to be the pick, but still, he took a gamble. It was a rolling the dice on a guy that had some problems in Pittsburgh. Rumors of him being a distraction there, and there was some stuff that was on visible that we saw through some of the Steeler games where he was just on the field being a distraction and doing stupid things. So he gambled. That gamble did not pay off.
Now, at the time, to be fair, let's talk about the Chase Claypool thing now, right? In terms of the overall compensation and all that. Claypool, at the time when that happened, we talked about it and we said, why is this player available?
Yeah.
And what are you giving up? Right. And then now that you've made the move, like, okay, let's see what happens. Like we're excited to add a talent like him. A lot of Bears fans were hoping that they would have drafted him over Cole Kmet, right? Like they're, okay, like, we're going to take the wait and see approach. But you have to always ask yourself, why is a player like that available, particularly from a franchise like Pittsburgh? And you know, he didn't have a very good start to his Chicago career last year. Like there was some issues last year on the field. He had an injury, right? There was just stuff that happened. And you and I both were like, you know what? It's weird. Like get traded mid-year, you probably feel a little betrayed. You don't have the relationship with the quarterback. It's a new offense. You're kind of making all the potential excuses to just say like, let's just wait and see. And we get to camp, and he is chippy. I mean,
Yeah.
he's picking fights with defensive players. He's getting up and beating his chest when he makes a play in practice, and like some of that's okay, and some of that's maybe a little much when it's your teammate. Kind of reminds you of the last time this locker room had an issue, right? Where you had like the Martellus Bennett, Kyle Fuller stuff, I think was
Yep.
going on, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that, but he's okay. Well, now you have all the off-season stuff, which I don't care about. If you get your stuff together when the season starts and you start performing on the field, everybody forgets about that.
Yep.
And then you had what was happening on the field, which was terrible. There was
Oh,
no effort. There was giving up on blocks. And then the next game he would block his butt off, right? And then he would make comments in the media about how he didn't know the play or he thought it was a run play, not a pass play on that screen. Stuff like that. And you're like, wait, what is this guy? He's all over the place. He's got, potential high highs. He's got super low lows. He's inconsistent, which is not what a professional football player needs to be able to stay on the field. And then he makes those comments this week, basically calling out the coaches for not using him in the right way. There's some rumors that maybe he's not, the calmest guy in the locker room towards the coaches and the players and all that. Don't know anything about that for real. Well, maybe we'll never find out. Maybe we'll find out some of that at some point. But that leads to this, and this is a young man who's in his fourth year in the league, who
contract
is
here.
due to be signed
Yeah.
a contract, and he may be costing himself tens of millions of dollars. Like I don't know if there's another team that will come close to him or that give him a vet minimum deal to try to prove it. I mean, he has put himself on a track that is very different than what his physical potential would speak to. And so I don't know. I mean, you can't feel bad for a guy like that because he's digging his own grave. But it is very disappointing that the Bears missed out on using that draft capital for something that would be more productive. And you hope that if Ryan Poles continues to be the general manager of this football team in the future, that he asks himself that question, which is, why is this player available? And can I fit this player in? That's what you have to ask yourself on all those. And then I'll ask you this: did Ryan Poles talk to Cole Kmet and Equanimous St. Brown and these other Notre Dame guys
Yeah.
that would know him? And did they get a personality type profile of who this guy could be? And did they weigh that when they made that move?
You would hope so. I mean, these teams, besides just that, these teams have interviewed these prospects at the combine. They interview them, at the school visits. They interview them at the games, like the East West and the Senior Bowl, all this stuff. So they have like so much information on these guys. And I know Ryan Poles came here from another organization, but I'm sure he had his own notes when he was with the Chiefs. I'm sure when he comes to Chicago, Chicago has files and files on Chase Claypool. That's just what these teams do because they're not just interviewing them at the combine for draft possibility. They're interviewing them so when they're a free agent in 4 years, now they have some information on them. So I hope he dug into all that stuff. I can't see him not doing it. But like you said, Cole Kmet, Equanimous St. Brown, two guys right there on his team. Let's talk to these guys. They're obviously from Notre Dame. Let's see what they have to say. I mean, and then Cole Kmet, he's been very positive. Everything about Chase Claypool in the media when he talks is positive. But maybe behind the scenes, it's a different story. So, I mean, that's something we'll never know. The whole thing with Chase Claypool, man, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on social media, and I'm starting to see stuff. Well, whose fault is this? Is it the coaching? Is it the GM? Ultimately, it's Chase Claypool. I mean, he had a chance here in his contract year, like you said, tens of millions of dollars. He was a pretty good rookie. He had a pretty good year too. For whatever reason, it happened in his year 3. The Steelers are like, yeah, it's enough. We're not going to deal with this anymore. Maybe his head got too big for what was going on there. But organizations like Pittsburgh, pretty good organization. If they're ready to dump a guy, that's a flag that should go up. Ravens, another good organization. Packers, Packers. As much as we hate the Packers, that's been a pretty well-run organization from the front office standpoint. There's some organizations you have to ask yourself if they're ready to move on. Maybe there's something else here. But of course, the whole thing with Chase, though, the rumor was the Packers were also after him. That's why the Bears had to give the second-round pick to make sure the Packers didn't get him. Man, can you imagine if the Packers would have got him? It would have been great.
That's one of those matchups against the Packers that you wish you would have lost.
Yes.
Enough L's in that rivalry. we would gladly take one more in hindsight with that. All right, mine's from Tom_Mahoney01. Again, just Tom_Mahoney was taken, I guess. He says, I respect the depths to which George McCaskey will go to ensure that the franchise continuously swaps inept coaches in order to keep the Bears off of Hard Knocks. Say what you will, but he's been very, very effective. And I don't know if Tom Mahoney is calling back to my personal displeasure with George McCaskey for keeping the Bears off of Hard Knocks because it's a fun program. Some people don't like it. Fine, don't watch it. But I find it to be a fun program, and I would love to see the Bears on it. You could really just showcase the history of the Bears. You could, there's a lot of stuff that you could do. It is not a distraction. There's, players are not saying that. A lot of times it gives players a platform, and it gives you an insight into these players, into the team, where you can draw in more fans. And George McCaskey is just dead set against it. I don't know why. I can't figure it out for the life of me, but he's against it. But this is a very funny take here to say, hey, George is doing this to stay out. Now, there was a response that it was, all you got to do is make the playoffs, and then
you're out. Yeah,
you're out too. So you can take the other approach, right? Like, you don't have to take the constant churning of coaches approach to avoid Hard Knocks.
Not the Bears. The Bears, everything they do is the hard way. So
there it is. Everything they do is hard.
Yeah.
All right. I just thought that was funny. I had to highlight it. And again,
the tweets you've been getting this season have been outstanding. I like your technique. You're asking the people, give me something I can highlight, and the people have come through with some fire. I like it.
Crowdsourcing. It's great.
Yeah.
It's better than me trying to go in and just like pull a Brad Biggs tweet every week, right? I mean, let's get some people in here that they're salty or they're angry or they're tossing a joke. I love it. Like, let's get that in here. So you gotta have some fun in a 14-game losing streak somehow. All right. Speaking of numbers, caught up in a numbers game. What do you got for your stat of the week?
I'm staying depressing on my number this week. I have two numbers. My numbers are 10 for 91. And that is a 10 penalties for 91 yards. Do you know that 10 penalties is the most penalties in the Matt Eberflus era? The hits philosophy, the culture guy. 10 penalties? Are you kidding me? This is happening now. I mean, these things happen every now and again, weird games like this. But, again, we talk about it, the discipline. He's the discipline coach. He's the defense coach. He's the hits philosophy coach. If the defense is bad, if you're getting hit with a bunch of penalties, what the hell are you doing here? A lot of the Chicago media are getting really, they think his time is coming. It's not happening this week, obviously, because he's already talked to the media. They got a game in a couple days here, but if they lose to Washington, they got that extra time here where they can kind of sort their house in order here. Maybe they make a move. I would be surprised because that's just not the Bears thing. But if there was a time to do it, it would be now. And then there's also another Thursday night coming up. Don't they have the Panthers here in like 3 weeks on Thursday night, which is kind of a weird scheduling quirk?
You sure? Yeah. They play two. Are there multiple Thursday games that day or something?
No, I think they just, this year, they're the first time they can have two. I'll have to check the schedule. But this would be the time. If they're going to fire him, But again, I can't see it happening. But come on, Coach Flus, you got to get your stuff together. You got to get things figured out. And then, is it a Thursday with the Panther?
Yeah, you're right.
Let's
I
see
thought
here.
that everybody had like one Thursday game.
They changed
So
that this year to let the Amazon Prime have multiple teams on occasion. And I guess the Chicago markets,
they
they want that.
chose poorly.
They did, yeah.
Well, they might have chose the Caleb Williams Bowl, which
Yeah.
is the Chicago
Real.
Bowl because they own the Panthers pick. So that's
So
fun.
real quick, so let's say the Panthers. Well, the Panthers aren't gonna have a chance at the guy, but there's a lot of teams that are kind of in the market for this guy.
Sure.
Caleb Williams, obviously, Drake May, good quarterback class.
Yeah.
Justin Fields just balled out.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, let's go to what's your number this week?
My number 16, which is
Okay,
a franchise record, consecutive passes, and that was to start the game from Justin Fields.
there
So
it
an
is.
excellent record that is broken. That's actually Shane Matthews' record of 15 straight against New England from December 10th of 2000. You got to go all the way back then. Then hat tip to our friend Sam Householder for picking that up right away and tagging Jack and I on the Twitter machine for a new record. So that was all in the first half, and it was broken by that Hail Mary attempt right at the end of the half. That's my stat of the week.
Justin Fields setting records. He had his best passing game as a pro. So this goes back to my questions. So what do the Bears have to do? I mean, obviously the talk for the first part of the season has been, tank. Here comes the tank again. They're going to go after another quarterback again. But Justin Fields, let's say he stacks a few of these games in a row. At some point, the Bears are going to win a game. I mean, they're not going to, I mean, God, I hope they don't keep losing. At some point, they may win a game, right? They may not get that first overall pick from themselves, but the Panthers, they're still in play. They're a bad football team. They're trying to work things on their own, and the Bears have that pick. What does Fields have to show this year to make the Bears not say Caleb Williams if the Carolina Panthers do have that first overall pick?
I think that if the Bears are in a position where either through their own pick or through the Panthers pick, because I mean, generally it's not a one-win team. That's you get a couple. The Bears have had 3 wins last year, and they had the number one pick, right? So you'll get some wins. But I think that if they do have the first pick, and they, again, Caleb Williams looks like if he is what he is, which
Yeah.
is, this is this guy that, people say generational, which is a tough word, but like, the cleanest prospect since Andrew Luck, pick your whatever phrase. This is a guy that's people are really excited about. Okay. You would have an opportunity to reset the quarterback clock in terms of rookie contract, and you would get a guy that, as good of a prospect as Fields was, would be a better prospect. Now, it doesn't mean that he's going to hit, doesn't mean he's going to be great, but you have a lot of positives going for you. Plus, you would have that other pick, which is likely going to be a pretty good pick, maybe even another great pick. Right now, as it stands, the Bears would have the number one and the number two pick. I doubt that'll finish that way, but if you had something like that, you could still trade out of one of those, get more picks to build into the future, or take an absolute blue chip prospect to pair with Caleb Williams. Now, anyway, just going through that. Now, to answer your question, what would he have to do? I think that in many ways he has to show that he's a top 5 quarterback
Yeah.
by the end of the year. I really think that he has to show what I said at the beginning of the year was that you have to be able to make a legitimate argument that Justin Fields is the best quarterback in the NFC by the end of the year. Jalen Hurts is right now, I think people would say that he's the best quarterback in the NFC. By the end of the year, you could make an argument that Fields is better. Not that he is, or that, that for sure that everybody agrees, but you could make a legitimate argument. That was the bar that I wanted to set for Fields. Right now, it's not there. Right now, he has to stack these games together, and I'm talking 7-8 games in a row like
Yeah.
this, right? Like, I mean, he's sort of used up all of his bad cards already. Now, is that coaching? I think it's a lot of it, but he has to have that switch flipped on, and that has to just continue throughout the rest of the year, which also means that you're probably going to win some games and knock at least your pick out of that top range. But again, like the question was, if you have the number one pick from the Panthers and what does Justin Fields have to do to save his job? To me, I think he has to be able to show that he's one of the 2 best quarterbacks in the conference. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I mean, he's got to show that. I mean, he has got to make a no doubter. I mean, there has to be no question, and then like what is that for the numbers? It's hard to say, but like he's just got to be. I mean, it's league wide. They've got to look at him and say, yeah, there's no question the Bears found their guy. That's got to be like the national narrative has to totally flip and say there's no question. If there's any doubt whatsoever, then I think you owe it to your franchise, and you got to go get the new guy. I mean, I love Justin Fields. I think he's just a great prospect. I like what he is off the field too. He's just we really want him to succeed, but through some problems, not even his own problems, he's talked about coaching. You owe it to the franchise. But if that's the case, though, I'm telling you right now, if that's the case, if they do, Carolina's got the first overall pick. We're going to go with a rookie quarterback. You got to clean house. You just got to clean
Oh,
house at that point because you've got to get everything lined up. Head coach, offense, quarterback, line them up, and then let's go. If it's not the case, then there's no point.
I'm ready to give Matt Eberflus his ticket
Yeah, let's
now.
get to hell. Yeah,
Like, I'm
let's go.
done. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we passed over that bridge a while ago for me. And everything he does now is just sort of continuing to stack on that. But yeah, you absolutely have to align everything. And if you did have that, that would be a very attractive landing spot, right? Particularly if you have that and you have more draft capital and you have a right tackle that we think is going to be good. You have a wide receiver 1 that is showing out, which we can get into in a little
Showing
bit.
out. Yeah.
But let's do our normal Fields report before we take our
Yeah.
break. So Fields had, I think, his best game passing as a pro. I don't
Yeah.
think that I need to convince anybody of that, but 28 to 35 for 335 yards. Um, is that right? He had 4 touchdowns. Did I write that down right?
4 touchdowns. You did.
Jeez Louise, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, took 4 sacks, which that's a Justin Fields line.
Yeah.
Lost 35 yards on those, and only ran the ball 4 times for 25 yards. So that was good enough to be nominated for the FedEx Air whatever of the week,
Air
um,
player of the week.
Air
Yeah.
Player of the Week, whatever. Now, did he win the Ground Player of the Week last year?
He did
Was he
one, I
nom-
think, once. Yeah.
Right. So I think this is probably his first time being nominated for the thing that quarterbacks get
It
nominated for.
is. It is. Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. Now, I don't know if he'll win because Josh Allen had a really great day. Hertz was the other one.
Hurts is the other one. Yeah.
Other one. So, he might not win, but being nominated for something like that for his passing prowess is great. Now, again, this was against the defense that just gave up 70 points to the Dolphins. This may be a really, really bad defense. Like they have some fundamental problems. People like Cole Kmet were running wide open, which I don't know that I've ever seen before. Like there was no one 10 yards around Cole Kmet a couple times. So this was, degree of difficulty. This was a low degree of difficulty day for Justin Fields, but an incredible day and absolutely worthy of high praise for his best passing day as a pro.
The fourth quarter wasn't the best. Obviously, the fumble was tough. He took the sack there. The Bears run that bootleg offense. They run it from time to time, and this one play did not fool the Broncos at all. They had seen it earlier in the game. There was nothing there. A lot of times you'll see a team will kind of motion a tight end across or a receiver across, kind of chip that free rusher on the way out, or even to give the illusion that they're going to run something at. But he just got right through, made the sack. Justin Fields has to be smarter. He just got to, at that point, you got to eat the sack. You just got to, there are some times when, like, when I break down the sacks, there are some times when like that would be a sacks happen. A free rusher off the edge. The smart play would have been just hold the ball tight and just get sacked, because you're trying to do what he did. It just was a bad play. It happens sometimes to pick. He talked about it, that he thought Kmet was to do one thing. Kmet did what he was trained and coached to do. It's unfortunate. And you heard Justin Fields talk about it in the press conference that, he was just wanted Kmet to kind of do a football thing. You kind of play football. You kind of freelance a little bit. But I don't think this offense is at that point where Luke Getsy's letting his guys freelance. It's not the Chiefs. This is not Mahomes and Kelsey
Right.
where, I'm sure Justin Fields would like that kind of freedom and would hope his guys would have that kind of freedom. And that's something that may happen at some point with these guys if they stick together for a long time and they're there. But it's not there yet. It was a bad play, bad interception. It happens. It's unfortunate that that's the lasting memory of the Fields game because this was a huge game for him. The fumble, the scoop and score, the pick, and again, I'm going to go back to some of the play calling. Where was the aggressiveness? You stack up 28 points throwing the ball, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, is this Getsy just being conservative? Is this Coach Eberflus saying, "Hey man, we got a lead. Let's just ride this out and coast to the victory here and try and protect this thing"? I have my doubts, and most offensive guys want to attack. I kind of find it hard to believe that Getsy would just kind of want to do that, especially when he's been cooking all day. I think this just goes back to the mentality of your head coach as a defensive guy. That's what defensive guys do. That's who they are. They can't help it. So I think that's it's partly Getsy, but again, let's not blame all the play calling on the play caller when there's someone in his ear saying, "Hey, we're winning. Let's not do anything stupid. Let's just be smart here with the ball."
I mean, we had some personal text back and forth this week where we were talking
Yeah,
about Everflus, and I won't divulge your side of it, but my side of it was a mistake to hire a defensive head coach with a young quarterback. It just doesn't make
yeah,
any sense at all, and I think that's proven itself out for a lot of reasons, but particularly things like this. Right, you're not putting him in a position to succeed. So let's take that quick break, and on the other side of this, we will talk about everybody's favorite segment, the Three Bears. All right, Lester, let's talk Three Bears: hot bowl of porridge, cold bowl of porridge, and just right. Who did you have for your hot bowl of porridge this week?
could have went a few ways here, but I'm going to go with rookie cornerback Terrell Smith.
Hmm.
He got the start because Jalen Johnson was injured. 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense. When I went back and watched the game, I thought he was pretty solid in run support. I have not got the all 22 yet. That hasn't dropped yet, but it's from the ridiculous CBS broadcast angles that I
Oh my
could
God.
tell. I thought Smith played pretty good. He looked capable in coverage. This is a 5th round draft pick. So Jalen Johnson in a contract year. He always has a couple injuries. It seems like their whole career. He doesn't have a lot of turnovers. Maybe the Bears are kind of waiting for him to prove himself before they pay him. And they're thinking, well, we got, Terrell Smith here. Maybe he can hold it down till we spend another 2nd round draft pick on a cornerback.
Just every year. That's just what
Every
happens.
year. Let's just keep
Every year,
doing
just more second round picks on corners. Well, it is the sweet spot for corners. So, I mean, the
it. It
approach is
is.
actually correct, but
It is.
yes,
Yeah.
I get the joke. Um, that's interesting. I did not expect that. I do love the call out of the terrible camera angles from the CBS
Terrible.
broadcast. I mean, what are they doing? Like, there's just like you don't. It's like from the sidelines, but like up the defensive side of the field, like 10 yards, and then they angle in that way. They just do that because they want to be different, because that's not giving you any good football information. Honestly, it's just disorienting
It
more
is.
than anything.
Yeah.
Like, why are they showing me this? Why wouldn't you show it the other way so I can see the defense, or show me from, the end zone angle? God, that was annoying. But
Yeah.
that's an interesting pick. I like it. And like you say, you get a guy like Jalen who misses some starts pretty much every year. This guy gets an opportunity to show what he has, and that does give you some flexibility. The Bears have money, but why spend it if you've got a guy that may not be available? Availability is a very important attribute to have. So, all right, for me, I was gonna we talked enough about Fields. I was just gonna call out his day passing, but I'll say Cole Kmet. He's 2 of the touchdowns, right? I know that miscommunication or whatever at the end. There's no mind meld between Fields and Kmet like there is Mahomes and Kelsey. Okay, fine. You got probably the best quarterback of all time, potentially, and probably the best tight end of all time, and they play together and they have a mind meld. The same thing's not going to happen quite yet for Fields and Kmet, but the, I mean, he had a good game. Like, I mean, he
Yeah.
again, he was running open a lot. He made the play in the end zone, on that little kind of crazy scramble play. But I don't expect that out of Cole Kmet. My expectations for Cole Kmet are pretty mid, and so this was a big game. You got to call him out.
2 touchdowns. He had to do his celebration. How do you like a celebration? His home run swing. I think it's kind of neat.
So I'm fine with it. If you go back and watch the first one, they
I
show
saw that.
from behind, and there was a guy that pretended like he was jumping the wall to try to
Yeah,
rob the home run. That
yeah,
was funny. I don't know who
yeah.
that guy is. Whoever you are, if you're listening, I see
Good
you. It
job.
was funny.
Yeah.
All right. What about the other side of this? What do you want to do for cold bowl porridge?
Cold, you can go a lot of different ways, but I'm gonna go a little outside the box here, and I'm gonna go the my cold is the play call for a Hail Mary at the end of the half.
Okay.
Because for one, Justin Fields was on a heater, man. He had not had an incomplete pass at that time. Okay. Why break that streak? I know the coaches probably aren't thinking about it, but you got to realize your guy is hot. You got to realize he's looking good here. And what are the odds of a Hail Mary working in the NFL? I mean, that's probably as lower than the onside kick percentage. It doesn't happen very often. I know you're trying to get a pass interference call, but even those, they really call it. There's a lot of pushing and shoving going on in the end
Yeah, they're
zone.
not going to call
They,
that.
they never call that kind of stuff. So you know what? I did not like the Hail Mary. That was the beginning of the end for the offensive troubles. This was going to happen there. And it was all because of that stupid ass Hail Mary call. Let Fields take a nice little check down, pad the stats a little more, or get him spread out and hand off to Khalil Herbert. Let him run for a little bit here. But the Hail Mary call, that was just stupid.
No kidding. That is outside the box. That is not what I expected you to
See,
go. But I also have a play call. And that,
Okay.
for me, the cold bowl porridge play call is to go for it on 4th and 1, well within field goal range with a tie football game late in the game. Now, you don't trust your defense. I mean, I guess I can understand that. But in this situation, you have to just get the points and you have to trust your defense to try to make. You're a defensive head coach. Like, pull something out, make it happen, right? Like, and again, worst case scenario, give up a touchdown and you lose at the end. Got it.
Yeah.
But if you give up a field goal, then you're tied again, and then you play for overtime. Like, that's your approach, is to try to go for it on 4th down. I mean, I don't like the play call necessarily either. I think you want Justin Fields to have a run pass option on
Yes.
that, because he's your most dynamic runner. I love Khalil Herbert. Like, I'm fan number one of Khalil Herbert, but that's not what you don't want to run an inside run from shotgun. Is that what it was? Like, I'm trying to replay it in my
I,
mind.
I, I think they're saying it was a read option. And so Fields had the option to kind of fake and go. That's what I said. Darnell Wright said he kind of missed the block there, which he thought kind of led to the tackle. But I'm with you, man. Roll him out.
Yep.
If you're going to do something like that, he is your most dynamic offensive weapon. He is the guys that defenses are afraid of. He was voted top 100 player in the NFL by his peers because he is the threat on that offense. So roll him out, give him an option, have a guy dragging across, run a mesh in front of him, do something. Give him an option to run and pick it up with his feet, or to go ahead and nice little dump off for the first down. I just thought the play call itself was for a run there. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan. If you're gonna run, man, then let's power it in there with a big jumbo package. Let your fullback lead it up. Put in Roshan Johnson at tailback, and let's get the yards there if that's how you want to go. Because it wasn't like it was inches. We're talking like it was a good long yard there. So
Right, and he was stuffed at the line.
yeah,
There wasn't a measurement needed or anything like that.
nope,
But even like a run from shotgun, okay, yeah, let's say it was a read option, whatever. Like, you still have longer way to go. That's a little slower developing, right? Like, I mean, that's not, and you're running up the middle, so you're running behind Patrick and Whitehair. Like, I mean, that's not your strength, right? Like, again, what do you do well? And I'm just not sure that was the right call. But I don't like the call to run a play. But then if you're going to run a play, put it in Justin's hands. So I'm calling that out as well. So if that's Eberflus, or if that's it has to come from Eberflus first, right? He's got to
to
make
go
a call
for
to
it.
go for
Yeah,
it on 4th down.
and then the whole process where they tried getting him to draw off sides, and then they didn't go off sides, and they're like, okay, well let's run it anyway. It's like, okay, if you're gonna run it. You know what I mean? It's like,
So they have plenty of time to think about
so
it.
they have plenty, and they had all the extra time to think about it, and it's like, oh my god, Hey, for the just right, why don't you take the just right first? I actually have two names written down. I got a feeling we may be kind of in the same realm here. I'm prepared today. I'm really prepared. So let's hear you're just right, and I'll follow you up.
I always have 2 names in case you pick one.
Ah,
So,
see,
that's always what I do.
okay,
For me, it's, I'll pick DJ Moore. So,
okay,
I think that this offense should run through DJ Moore. I have said
oh yeah,
that from the
yeah,
start, said that when the trade happened, but I definitely have said it repeatedly when this offense has looked like crap. And DJ Moore is a very good wide receiver, and I don't think people are. I think they're starting to see it in Chicago, but like I don't think that people are thinking high enough. And I get it. He's not Justin Jefferson. Only Justin Jefferson is, right? But get past that. Like DJ Moore has every right to be talked about in that 5 to 10 top 5, top 10 wide receiver range. I think he's that good. You run your offense through a guy like that. And when Chicago does that, they're very successful. And so these are my expectations for DJ Moore. For him to
yes.
get 117 yards, whatever it ended up being, those are my expectations
131,
for him. 131.
8 catches, 131 and a tutty.
Those are my expectations for him. And
Yeah,
so, and not every week, because that would set some records, but like that, this doesn't surprise me, particularly against a defense that's not very good. And he had Patrick Surtain following him around the field,
did yeah.
who's supposed to be a really good corner. And he was breaking him off like it was nothing. Right. So this is a very good player. Run your offense through him.
That's the
Who'd
way
you
to
have?
go. So who I had him written down. Who was your other guy before I go to mine?
Khalil Herbert.
There you go. We're on the same page. Khalil Herbert led the Bears 18 rushes, 103 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, what you want to see from him. He had 4 catches. Again, he's catching the ball. It looks natural. He's not fighting the catch, which we kind of saw. We noticed at a camp. He looks a little better as a hands catcher. 19 yards and a touchdown. So this is what we want. I mean, Khalil Herbert, as much as we're all fans of Roshan Johnson, we think he's got a good career coming up in Chicago. Khalil Herbert's still your top. He's your best runner. So the whole give more carries to Johnson. That was the rumor before the game was, oh, the Bears are gonna try and run Roshan Johnson more. Some of the national guys had that. They're like, oh yeah, they want to stick to the run. So of course the Bears come out throwing all over the place. And then when they do run, it's Khalil Herbert. So DJ Moore, Khalil Herbert this week's just right. We expect this kind of performance out of these two guys.
It's interesting that you say that because last year you had David Montgomery and he was getting more carries than Khalil Herbert. And my appeal to this team was you need to flip it
Yes.
because Herbert is a much better runner. And I know that the other pieces of his game he needed to pick up a little bit, but you want him to have more touches. And to me, it was a situation like in Cleveland. Now, Bears do not have a Cleveland offensive line or anything like that, but Nick Chubb is an incredible runner. He's maybe not, I'm sure he's good in pass pro at this point, but like maybe not the best pass catcher, but just a pure runner. He's great. And then they used to have
Kareem
Hunt,
Hunt.
Kareem
Yeah.
Hunt, who was much more of a, you know, he could kind of do the little stuff on the backfield, whatever. But he would get, the smaller share of the touches, whereas Chubb would get, you need to feed him because he's an explosive play waiting to happen. And that's what I think this could be. Now that you've got Roshan, he's a complete back. He can kind of do everything. And if he can serve as the number 2, I know people are trying to thrust him into being RB1, but I, you see it with Herbert, man. Like, uh, boom, there's an explosive play. Boom, there's an explosive run. Like he has it. He's got the juice. It's a perfect nickname for him. So, yeah, those guys are players. Run your
Which
offense
is
through those guys.
it just kind of goes back to like how we thought that they had some pieces in place here, and this team should not be 0-4 at this point. So hopefully it's getting it turned around here on Thursday night. You talked about Washington's not the best. Sam Howell, he's okay. He's a second-year quarterback. He leads the league in getting sacked and leads the league in sack percentage. Teams get to him. But on the flip side, they have a pretty good front defense there, so they're going to get after Justin Fields. So it's going to be a tough game.
So, Lester, what happens when an offensive line that can't block and a quarterback that can't get rid of a ball takes on a defensive front that can't heat up the quarterback and can't finish off sacks when they have the opportunity?
Something's got to give, right? So one of these units are going to get right on Thursday night. It's either going to be the Commanders, hey, we finally got our pass pro figured out, or it's going to be, hey, the Bears finally got a pass rush. So I'm hoping it's the Bears getting there because they've gotten close a little bit. Hopefully it's not Brisker. Hopefully it's not Brisker leading the team in pressure. It's got to be Yannick Ngakoue's got to get in there and make some damage here.
There was a point last year where Brisker was the team lead, right? Like he had the team lead for sacks, and
He
then
led he led the team last year. I think he had 4 season ago.
well, I don't think he finished with the lead, but he had it for a while, like pretty deep into the year. And I think
Yeah.
somebody else took him over towards the end. I think it was Gibson took him over at the end. But anyway, anything happen at the site that we need to point out, or it's a condensed week.
It is. I emailed our team this morning because hey, we got a tight week this week. We'll fit all our usual stuff in, so our previews will be there. I know Aaron is doing a great job with this with his touchdowns for tails. The concept was he was going to make it to where when the Bears win, the charity wins. Of course, the Bears aren't winning nothing, but he's kind of flipped it a little bit. Now he's kind of going off some prop bets. So if you're into animal rescue kind of stuff, make sure you check that article out. I think it's coming out either later tonight or maybe even tomorrow morning. But we'll fit everything in, and then of course the post game stuff again. It's going to be a little elongated because we have a little extra time, but. I know whenever the Bears play on Thursday, I always try and find something to fun do on the weekends. I don't always watch football on that Sunday. Sometimes I'll throw a bone to the family, say let's go do something. Oh, aren't the Bears playing? I'm like, I don't care about the Bears this week. Let's go have some fun at the pumpkin farm or something.
Yeah, there was a tweet a while back. I saw something said, honey, I'm not going to watch Tuesday night football. Let's go out and do something. Really? Right? Yeah, it's kind of big. I'm not going to watch the Bears this Sunday. Let's go out, family. Let's have some good time here. That's good
I
stuff.
do that. I do that every time the Bears don't play on Sunday, and my family has no idea.
Well, all of you can send me good vibes. I've got a half marathon on Saturday. That's going to be how I'm spending part of my weekend, and then I'll be recovering, I guess, on Sunday. But we will be back here on Monday. We're not going to do Friday night game recap or anything like that. So we will do this show Monday, even though the game is on Thursday. So we'll stick with our normal schedule. And we'll stick around here to do some post-game Q&A with the YouTube crowd. But for those of you that are joining us on the podcast, thanks for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Nice.
All right, we got anything fun?
Our guy Fitzy, man, we got to get him quick here because he did the super chat here. Did you see Gibson got the sack for the Titans this week? Of course, you're talking about former Chicago Bear. I'm sure the Bears would like to have a third for the entire season. I still understand how a team that can't generate pressure cut him. Yeah, I mean, I thought he did enough to make the team. I thought Terrell Lewis did enough to make the team, and Terrell Lewis in the news today, the Saints just cut him. Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's like if you have no one off the edge, I know they're high on Dominique Robinson, who did pick up a half a sack on Sunday, which is now his the first thing he's done since last year's week 1, first sack. So that's good for him. But you got to see more out of the edge rushers for the Bears. A guy like Gibson, he's still doing it. I mean, he's doing it for the Titans. The Titans what's the Titans record? The Titans just won a big game. I mean, they're always in the mix, right?
The Titans hired a culture coach.
There it is.
And he set a culture and an expectation. And he played in the league for a long time and he had that reputation and so that's what the Titans did. So that's what you were trying to replicate here. Didn't really work. I don't know what's copy pasta mean.
I don't know.
You saying I got tricked? That somebody just took a recycled tweet and put that up there?
Maybe.
And
it's okay though. It happens. Social media, they're tricksters.
Yeah, I'm getting tricked on the internet. What are you gonna do? Man, it's a lot of trade fields here. I'm not gonna put that on the screen because I'm not
Cloudy's
there yet.
got the you see the Cloudy shot here? I've seen a lot of Bears fans comparing Eberflus to Trestman. Thought that was a bit harsh, but all the off-field stuff going on, the DC stuff, now the Claypool stuff, not looking too good.
There's still a lot of unanswered questions about Alan Williams stuff.
Yeah.
So What's going to happen there?
The fact that Eberflus is now the defensive play caller the rest of the year, maybe he did some of that to save his job. It's like, oh, they're not going to fire me because I'm doing the head coaching job and I'm the play caller on defense. So that'll be, what do you do there? So crazy.
Um, that
Another
this
Cloudy.
this one from Cloudy about Gibson and then Mack. Yes, 6 sacks.
Man,
Holy moly! When will the Bears record their 6th sack of the year?
it's Thursday night.
You think
Let's
Thursday night they're
go.
gonna get
No,
4?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I saw a lot of hindsight stuff on social media. Ryan Poles didn't trade Khalil Mack because he thought Khalil Mack was washed. He traded Khalil Mack because his talent did not line up with the talent of where the Bears rebuild was. So the fact that he moved him, I have no problem with that trade. That trade from an organizational franchise team building standpoint, that trade made sense. Yes, it would be great to have a guy like Khalil Mack on the team, but he wasn't a trade because he was washed. He was traded because you had to move your vet. It made no sense keeping him on the roster. And then Nick Morrow, man, what's happening? Nick Morrow with the Eagles, but when you got a front four
You got
that's
an
that
amazing
good,
defensive line. I mean, yeah, what are you
yeah,
gonna do? You're
he'll get
running
his.
free,
Yeah,
right? Um, yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Uh, the switch to the defensive front too, that might have been part of it. They might, and again, you get rid of all your good players.
yeah,
I get that. I mean, at some point, it's tough to. I mean, in a way, I applauded it, right? Like, okay, that's a tough move to make. You make the move, you trade your most, famous player, and you get a good resource out of it. Okay, like that's tough to make, but you have that grace period. The Roquan stuff, man, we talked about the Roquan stuff so much. I just thought with the personality and how that negotiation broke down and all that stuff, like it was like, all right, like we'll go, but man, he's a good player.
he's a really good
He is
player.
a really good player, and that's tough to see him do so well. What are you gonna do though?
Yep.
Um, I think Tevin is gonna play.
It seems that way. It's trending that way. I mean, technically, there's no practice this week, right? So the Bears won't be able to see him in a full on, practice. But they're doing walkthroughs. They're going to walk through right up until Wednesday, where they're going to go. I think Coach Flu said helmets and do like some red zone stuff. I think he said at his press conference. So they'll see him a little bit. They did put out their injury report today, which is just a projection since they don't really practice. And the projection was, had the Bears practiced, he would have been a full participant. So reading the tea leaves, maybe they'll let him go. I mean, it was a calf injury. From talking to Mason, he believes that at the time when he put him on IR, he wouldn't need the full 4 weeks to get back. It's good to be extra cautious in that case. So if the calf is healed up, if he's got his conditioning right, they should play him because Cody White or Lucas Patrick, one of those guys got to get to their ass to the bench.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could put almost like they needed to draft a center.
Oh, jeez.
Something I've been only saying for 3 years. You know, I'm looking I'm looking at it. You guys are right. It was Brisker with 4 sacks last year. I remember joking about that, and I thought that it didn't actually happen. Like, but I remember tracking it through the year, and then I think in my mind I was like, well, that didn't really happen. That there's no way that finished that way. Yeah, no,
It's one of
Brisker
those Mandela effect things where
Brisker led the
you're
team
so
with 4
sure.
sacks.
Yeah.
It's almost like I'm protecting myself because it's too much. Listen to these sack totals. Brisker 4, Justin Jones 3, Travis Gibson 3, Roquan 2.5, Sanborn 2, Dominique Robinson 1.5. Someone named Joe Thomas, not the offensive tackle, with 1. Armand Watts with 1. Al-Qadim Muhammad with 1. There's no way that happened. And Robert Quinn won before they traded him.
Robert
So
Quinn.
yeah. Yeah, there you go. There's another random thing. Single
Jeez.
season sack record is held by Robert Quinn. That's 10 years from now, people are gonna be like, what? No, that's not. He didn't play for
Yeah.
the Bears. Yeah. Such a forgettable personal record. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, Cornelius is gonna bench Cody. Which is
Patrick had a bad game. Again, I
Patrick
haven't seen the
had
all
a rough game.
22, but on my rewatch, I'm like, there was a couple plays where he just kind of like
His
is
controller
blocking.
his controller stopped, and he just
Yeah, and he just stopped blocking. Like, what the hell is he doing here?
I've never seen
You
it. Like,
know, it's like, the only thing I can think of as a former line guy, it's like, okay, maybe he was anticipating a stunt coming to him, so he was trying to pass off the guy. But I don't know what the hell was going on. And then Cody Whitehair, man, he's both of them, man. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I have a feeling that they're going to put Cody to center because that's just what the plan was. And this
right.
coaching staff, they want to stick to their guns. And but honestly, flip a coin, man. They both have not been very good. It is what it is at this point. If they had a young center on the roster, do you see Sam Musfer is really kicking some ass for the Ravens here? The Raven fans love him. They think he's a good football player, and that's
Stable
typical.
organization,
Yeah, get the
good
best
players
out of him.
around him, good scheme, I guess.
A
That's
better system, better guards, better overall
right.
quality of play, and see what happens.
I That kind of baffles me. I never saw it on film. That is pretty bad most of the time. But I don't know. What are you gonna do? I think that's maybe this one last one. And we'll get out of here. I mean, he doesn't. Foreman, I don't think he put on special teams, and it just
No,
doesn't
he's
make
not a
sense to
special
have.
team guy.
So it doesn't make sense to have three active running backs that don't play special teams, or your third back not playing special teams. I think Homer's active, right? So had to get a lot of reps on offense, but I don't know. I mean, one of these guys are going to get dinged up at some point. And Foreman will get some carries, but
I like Foreman. I like that
he's a good
signing,
player.
but then when Roshan Johnson's sitting there in the draft, and that's
Yeah.
the top guy on your board, you take him. And I don't think that was the Bears' plan in the draft, was to get a guy that they thought would, be starter quality. So that's why Foreman was signed. They figured he'd be your David Montgomery replacements. And like you said, at some point Herbert's going to get dinged up. At some point there's going to be an injury to Travis Homer or one of these, or Roshan Johnson. He'll play, or maybe the Bears swing a trade. Maybe there's a team out there that's in desperate need of a running back. You got a guy, Deonta Foreman, who had 900 yards last year down the stretch for the Panthers. He's a good NFL running back. He doesn't do all the little things, but as far as a guy that can run and get you some yards, maybe the Bears flip him at the trade deadline for a sixth or a seventh round draft pick, which is good. It's a lottery ticket, but you never know.
Yeah, you need more capital anyway when you're rebuilding a team. So I think we'll end it there. We'll get you guys out of here about an hour so you can go, grab a beverage and go watch the Monday night game. And like I said, we'll be back next week. Appreciate the support. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. And we'll see you soon.